You're operating inside a system you don't fully understand. It's a system that was meticulously designed to get the most value from you while paying you the absolute minimum it can get away with. And you feel it, don't you? It's that quiet resentment, that nagging sense that the whole equation is just off. Let me tell you right now, you are not mistaken. You are being played.
But let's start with a question. Think about this for a second. Why is it not just acceptable, but almost encouraged for you to complain about your job and how much you make? You see it all the time. Teachers, social workers, artists, they're given this public platform to talk about their financial struggles. Have you ever really stopped to ask yourself, what's the purpose of this whole ritual? Because that social permission slip, it is not an accident. It's a tool. It's a pressure release valve. You have been given a license to complain so that you vent your frustration instead of demanding what you are actually worth. This is one of the countless unspoken rules that quietly dictate your life, and here we expose them. This is Unspoken Rules, and we are here to reveal the psychological truth.
All right, so let's start by peeling back the first layer of this whole architecture. And it's not even economic, not really. It's social. It's an unwritten agreement that you've accepted without ever even seeing the terms and conditions. We call it the complaining contract.
This right here, this basically lays out the whole contract. Look, on one side, you've got jobs with high social value, but pretty low pay, right? Like teachers. Society gives them a really high tolerance for complaining. It's like an emotional payout. We'll call it a whining license. Now, look at the other side. High-paying jobs, almost zero tolerance for complaining. This isn't random. This is a form of social engineering, and it's designed to keep the whole system stable and, you guessed it, keep wages suppressed. Now this social contract, it's reinforced by something much colder, much harder, a macroeconomic machine. That feeling you have of being underpaid, it is not just in your head. It's a quantifiable, historical fact.
Look at this number. Just soak it in. From 1973 to 2014, net productivity in the economy, the value we all created, shot up by 72.2%. This number represents an absolute explosion of value that you, your parents, all of us created. More stuff, more efficiency, more wealth being generated per hour than ever before. This is the value that you helped build.
And this is your share. Over that exact same period of time, the real hourly pay for a typical worker grew by a, frankly, pathetic 9.2%. Now that gap between those two numbers, that's not some economic anomaly. No, that is a choice. That is the wealth that was created by the many and captured by a few. It's called the productivity pay wedge, and it is the cold, hard mathematical proof that the system is broken.
So the big question is, how does this machine actually work on a personal level, on you? Well, it uses a core mechanism called the loyalty penalty. It is the system's way of punishing you for your commitment. See, companies basically have two budgets, one for getting new talent in the door and one for keeping the talent they already have. And guess what? The budget for getting new people is almost always bigger. It has to be, right, to compete. That little 3% raise you get every year, that's not meant to match your growing value in the marketplace. It's just designed to barely keep up with inflation. Your loyalty has become a financial liability.
And this right here, this is the psychological decay that the loyalty penalty causes. It's a predictable four-act tragedy. First, you're in denial. You think, oh, the new hire must have some special skills I don't. Then it moves to resentment, when you realize you're training your own higher-paid replacement. That's followed by calculation, what some call a silent strike, where you just start pulling back your effort. And the final act? It's your exit, taking all that knowledge with you to a competitor for the huge raise you should have had all along.
But here's the thing. The external system, that's only half the story. The most effective prison is always the one you build for yourself. You are being policed by an invisible rulebook, a set of beliefs that ensures you are an active collaborator in your own underpayment.
We call these phantom rules. They are the ghosts of old limitations. They are the outdated beliefs you picked up from your parents, from school, from your very first boss. And they feel so real, they feel permanent, but they're not. They are nothing more than habits that have hardened into your personal dogma, and you are the one enforcing them every single day.
Let's talk about one of the most dangerous phantom rules out there. Good work speaks for itself. This is an absolute lie. Good work is silent. It's your advocacy for your work that speaks. Believing this puts you in a passive stance that basically guarantees you're going to be overlooked for people who are just better at managing perception. This rule serves your employer, not you. And here's another one. This is the perfectionist trap, the script of deservingness. It sets an impossible standard.
The finish line is always moving. When you tell yourself, I need to be perfect before I can ask for what I'm worth, you guarantee you will never, ever ask. This isn't about having a high standard of excellence. It's a mechanism for self-sabotage.
So let's say you do it. You manage to break free from your phantom rules and you decide to ask for more. Well, now you're stepping onto the negotiation battlefield. And please do not mistake this for a friendly chat. It is a psychological contest and you are structurally disadvantaged from the moment you walk in.
The single most powerful weapon they use against you is something called the anchoring bias. The very first number that gets mentioned in a negotiation, no matter how random or ridiculous it is, it becomes the center of gravity for the entire conversation. Every other offer is then unconsciously judged against that first number. It literally distorts your perception of what's reasonable.
Take a look at this example. An employer throws out a low anchor, let's say $60,000. If you don't immediately and aggressively counter that with your own data-backed counter anchor, let's call it $90,000, you have just implicitly accepted their frame. And the final number will almost always land somewhere near the midpoint of those two. By failing to counter anchor, you're playing the game in their territory, by their rules.
Now, it's absolutely critical to understand that this battlefield, it is not a level playing field for everyone. Consider this number, 87 cents. That's what a full-time employee with a disability earns for every single dollar made by a non-disabled peer. And this has nothing to do with skill or productivity. It's about bias.
This is because of a really cruel psychological trap called the likability penalty. Society has this unspoken stereotype that people with disabilities should be, agreeable and non-threatening. So when they negotiate assertively, which they absolutely should, they violate that stereotype, and they're seen as aggressive. Hiring managers actually like them less and offer them less. It's a social penalty for demanding economic fairness, and it proves that your negotiation is being judged on your identity, not just on your merit. Okay, the architecture of underpayment is everywhere. It's structural, it's social, and it is deeply psychological. But the thing about architectures is that they can be dismantled. And right now, a massive disruption is happening that is shattering the old rules and offering a real path to finally claim the value you deserve. The era of information asymmetry, where they know everything and you know nothing, is coming to an end. Pay transparency laws are literally sweeping across the globe. By 2026, major economies will legally require companies to post salary ranges, and they're banning pay secrecy. For decades, employers held all the cards because they had all the information. This legal revolution is putting the data, and therefore the power, back in your hands. So with this new power, you're facing a fundamental choice. You can stay as a cog in the machine, a replaceable part, easily subject to having your wages suppressed. Or you can become a linchpin. A linchpin is indispensable. They're the creative engine, the go-to problem solver, the one person that the organization simply cannot afford to lose. Becoming a linchpin isn't about working harder, it's about working differently. First, you have to shift your role from being seen as a cost center and expense on a spreadsheet to a profit center, someone who directly generates revenue. Second, you have to actively hunt down and solve the complex, messy problems that everyone else is avoiding. Third, build a network that relies on you, that needs your unique input. And finally, consistently deliver value that goes way beyond what your job description asks for. You have to make yourself indispensable. So there it is. The architecture of underpayment has been exposed. The social contracts, the macroeconomic machine, your own internal rulebook. It's all been laid bare. So the question is no longer, what is the system doing to me? The question now is, what am I going to do now that I know? Will you keep operating by those invisible rules and just accept the outcome? Or will you decide to see reality for what it is and act accordingly?
This has been a commitment to awareness. If you are ready to stop being a passive player in a system designed to undervalue you, then you need to commit. Subscribe for more explainers that reveal the truth, hit that bell so you do not miss the next one, and I want you to comment below with the one phantom rule you are going to break this week. This is about committing to action. Commit to the truth.